Don't even lie, K-drama romance in 2025 hit way harder than any of us were ready for. Every month gave us another couple with chemistry so strong, it practically reached through the screen. So, let's get into it. Here are the 14 K-drama couples whose insane chemistry made 2025's romance dramas completely unforgettable. 14. Han Ji-min and Lee Jun-hyuk.
안 잡을 거예요?
Love Scout gives us one of 2025's most quietly electric couples, Kang Ji-hyun, the hyper-competent CEO who lives like a machine, and Jun-ho, the single dad secretary who becomes the only person who actually sees her. Their dynamic starts as pure efficiency. He handles her schedule, vitamins, shoes, crisis control, but every tiny action is laced with this soft, intimate familiarity that builds before either of them realizes it. Their chemistry isn't loud. It's the kind that creeps up on you through body language, stolen glances, and the way he steps into her space like he belongs there. What makes them perfect is the role reversal that feels natural. She's the powerful, emotionally guarded boss, but he's the one who sets the emotional tone of her day. Add Yoon-ho's single dad tenderness next to Ji-yoon's lifelong fear of abandonment, and suddenly every moment becomes charged. Because he's not just caring for her, he's showing her a version of love that never leaves. Mature, tender, and honestly one of the most naturally romantic couples of early 2025. 13. IU and Park Bo-gum.
그 반짝이던 자개장이 있고 그 쨍쨍하던 그들의 여름날 같아서.
One of the most soul-stirring couples of the year, IU brings fire as Oh-sun, the stubborn poet in the making, while Park Bo-gum is Yang Gwan-sik, the quiet boy who loves her with his whole life. Their story stretches across decades in 1950s to 70s Jeju, from muddy, chaotic childhood to adulthood shaped by poverty, loss, and changing times. But the constant is Gwan-sik's unwavering devotion and Asun's wild, unbreakable heart. Their chemistry hits so hard because it feels real. IU is all spark and impulse, while Bo-gum grounds every scene with steady, gentle strength. Together, they turn the smallest moments, tying her shoes, sharing a meal, walking home in silence, into the kind of love scenes that stay with you long after the episode ends. Critics called their pairing career-defining, and fans agree. Nothing feels performed. It genuinely looks like these two grew up together on that island, loving each other in ways they never knew how to say out loud. The show became Netflix's highest-rated Korean drama ever, and a huge part of that hype is Asun and Gwan-sik feeling like a lifetime, not just a romance. And the best part? IU and Park Bo-gum keep feeding the obsession off-screen too. Sweet interview moments, easy laughter during press tours, and a duet that went mini-viral because their natural chemistry is just that good. 12. Bona and Yook Sungjae. Pure fate-coded romance.
너 얼굴이 왜 이렇게 붉게? 열도 나니? 열은 아닌 것 같은데?
Yoon-gap and Yeori have the kind of chemistry that hits you right in the chest. Here's the twist. He's not just her first love, he's also sharing his body with Gang Chae-oh, a 1,000-year-old serpent spirit who looks at her like she's the one thing he's been waiting centuries to find. And every time Yeori looks at him, you can feel that confusion and longing. That duality, that push and pull, it makes every scene electric. One second, it's soft, innocent first love energy. The next, it's intense, soul-deep yearning. Both versions of him, the shy scholar and the flirty immortal, are madly drawn to her. They argue during exorcisms, cling to each other in haunted hallways, and have these quiet, devastating moments where all the jokes drop and you see how scared they are of losing each other. Romantic, chaotic, supernatural, and honestly one of the most addictive dynamics of 2025. 11. Jo Bo-ah and Lee Jae-wook.
살면서 이렇게 여유롭게 별을 본 적이 없었는데.
기아 위에서 그렇게 숱한 별들을 봤었는데 이렇게 아름다운 별은 처음 보는 것 같아.
Easily the most controversial couple of 2025, but also one of the hardest to look away from. Hongrang and Jae-yi have this intense, aching chemistry that hits you the moment they lock eyes. She spent 12 years searching for her missing brother, and he shows up claiming to be him. But he feels wrong, too distant, too familiar, too something. That tension, suspicion mixed with this strange magnetic pull, is what makes every scene between them feel charged. Lee Jae-wook brings this wounded, dangerous softness, while Jo Boa plays Jae-yi like someone desperate to hold herself together. Put them in the same room, and suddenly it's all heavy breaths, stolen glances, and emotions they're not supposed to have. Tragic, messy, forbidden, but the chemistry? Undeniably powerful. That's why fans couldn't stop talking about them all year. 10. Park Bo-young and Park Jin-young, the softest, most healing romance of the entire year.
왜? 넌 무슨 생각하는데?
응? 너무 많아서 뭐부터 말해야 될지 모르겠어.
다 말해봐.
Park Bo-young is pulling double duty as twin sisters, but it's Miji and Hosu who absolutely steal the show. She's a former sprinter trying to rebuild her life, he's a lawyer carrying hearing loss and years of survivor's guilt. And when they reconnect during the twin life swap, the chemistry is instant but quiet, like two people who've been orbiting each other forever, finally landing in the same place. Park Bo-young already had a whole other romance drama earlier in 2025, but somehow she builds an entirely new, grounded chemistry with Park Jin-young that feels so real, it literally got them a Popular Couple Award nomination. It's gentle, it's grown up, it's two imperfect people choosing each other anyway. And that's why Miji and Hosu became one of 2025's most loved comfort couples. 9. Kim So-hyun and Park Bo-gum, the very chaotic, very borderline workplace flirting duo of Yoon Dong-ju and Ji-hyun Na.
다신 넌 못 보는 줄 알았는데 이렇게 볼 수 있었어.
This drama isn't a rom-com, it's athletes turned cops punching through crime rings. But somehow these two still manage to slip in a full romance just through the way they move around each other. Dongju is the golden retriever boxer who throws himself headfirst into danger, and Han-na is the ex-shooting prodigy who covers him with sniper-level precision. He charges in, she keeps him alive. He teases her during stakeouts, she pretends not to smile. It's not hearts and flowers. It's protectiveness, bruises, and that, "Are you okay?" after every mission that gives them away. They're not the swooniest couple of 2025, but they are the definition of partners who slowly become more. Messy, subtle, half-flirting, half-damage control. And that's exactly why Dongju and Han-na became one of the standout action couples of the year. 8. Cho Yi-hyun and Choo Young-woo, the painfully beautiful first love battle between Park Seong-ah and Bae Gyeon-woo.
아씨, 나도 모르겠다.
This one hits different because it's not just high school sweetness. It's a full-on fantasy romance where she's a secret shaman who can see the future. And he's the boy she loves who's literally fated to die. So while they're smiling at each other in class, Seong-ah is going home at night to fight spirits, bend destiny, and do whatever it takes to keep him alive. Their chemistry? Oh, trust me, it's there. Yi-hyun and Young-woo already acted together in School 2021, so when they reunite here, it feels like they've skipped all the awkward stages. They just slide into that soft, natural, easy kind of chemistry you can't fake. Every look, every tiny smile, every "are you okay?" lands. What makes them even more addictive is the contrast. He's the gentle, unlucky boy who keeps getting hurt. And she's the girl who knows exactly how he dies, but still chooses him every single day. First love wrapped in destiny, danger, and that fragile sweetness where every moment feels like it could be their last. That's why Seong-ah and Gyeon-woo ended up being one of 2025's most talked about fantasy couples. Soft, faded, desperate, and absolutely unforgettable. 7. Yoona and Lee Chae-min, one of 2025's most addictive surprise pairings.
뭐 하시는 거예요?
내가 가장 좋아하는 여인에게야. 기수다.
The setup alone is perfection. A perfectionist French chef from 2025 wins the biggest competition of her life. And then a solar eclipse just throws her into Joseon, straight into the palace of a king whose reputation is basically gourmet genius, emotional disaster. At first, he treats her like a threat until he tastes her food. From that moment on, their whole relationship becomes this delicious push and pull. The stubborn modern chef who refuses to bow, and the icy young king who melts a little every time she cooks for him. The chemistry. Don't even get me started because it is so good. It feels so illegal. Yoona brings all this confident, chaotic energy, and Chae-min plays the king like a grumpy cat who pretends not to care, but is absolutely down bad. You get the kitchen bickering, the late-night tasting sessions, the soft eye contact over steaming dishes. And suddenly this execute her if the dish is bad, king is basically begging for one more bite. Their Noona romance vibe is what really sells it. She leads with heart, he follows with sincerity, and somewhere between politics and pastries, they start healing each other. By the finale, every dish they've shared becomes the reason he doesn't want her to go back to her world. This couple helped turn Bon Appétit into a full-blown phenomenon. Massive cable ratings, Netflix Global Top 10, award nominations, and weeks of buzz. 6. Jun Ji-hyun and Kang Dong-won.
지금부터 내가 하는 대로 하는 겁니다. 하나도 어렵지 않을 거예요.
If we're talking powerful, grown-up chemistry, Seo Moon-ju and Paik Sun-ho might just be the most explosive pairing of 2025. Played by Jun Ji-hyun and Kang Dong-won, two literal movie stars. Their dynamic hits like a political thriller and a forbidden romance at the same time. The setup is wild. Moon-ju is a former UN ambassador whose husband, a presidential candidate, gets assassinated during the campaign. Instead of stepping back, she steps forward, runs for president herself, and starts ripping open a conspiracy that stretches across North-South politics and nuclear brinkmanship. Enter San-ho, the silent, terrifyingly skilled mercenary assigned to protect her. They start with deep distrust, but every assassination attempt, every bomb defusal, every press conference under threat just pushes them closer together. Their chemistry is the kind critics call impossible to fake. And then you add the off-screen magic. Jun Ji-hyun and Kang Dong-won had always wanted to work together, so every scene feels like two A-listers finally getting to play a slow-burn romance they've been waiting years to do. 5. Suzy and Kim Woo-bin.
주인이야. 내가 오늘 너에게 최고의 암흑을 선물해 줄게.
This pairing had the whole fandom vibrating before it even aired. Because hello, it's Kim Woo-bin and Suzy's first reunion in almost 10 years. Netflix basically marketed it as they're back to make magic. And honestly, they did. Woo-bin plays Iblis, a devilish genie punished for 1,000 years after losing a divine bet about human greed. Suzy is Ga-young, a modern woman who can't feel normal emotions. She summons him by accident, gets 3 wishes, and somewhere between a resurrected grandmother, a wish about love, and a ticking clock on her life, they fall into this messy, aching, slow-burn romance. Their chemistry? Unreal. Woo-bin's smug, chaotic energy bouncing off Suzy's deadpan calm is addictive. He's the immortal trickster who's seen everything, except her. She barely flinches, but every tiny shift in her face wrecks him. Plot opinions aside, everyone agrees on one thing. They carried. People came for the reunion, but stayed because these two made supernatural longing feel intimate and strangely romantic. 4. Kim Min-ha and Jun-ho.
따가워.
아, 어떡해.
Kang Tae-pung and Oh Mi-seon might be one of the most unexpectedly romantic couples of 2025. Played by Jun-ho and Kim Min-ha, they start as total opposites. He's the spoiled Apgujeong rich kid who suddenly loses everything during the '97 IMF crisis. And she's the overworked eldest daughter who's been carrying her whole family on her back since forever. Their chemistry doesn't explode. It builds, through late nights trying to save the company, protecting each other from predatory clients, and Mi-seon being the only person who believes Tae-pung can actually grow up and lead. Watching him fall for her while becoming the kind of man who deserves her, that's the part that hits the hardest. You don't feel like you're watching a K-drama. their chemistry feels so real, like you're watching two actual people fall in love. It's such a warm, working-class, slow-burn romance. Two people rebuilding a collapsing world together and accidentally falling in love in the process. 3. Park Ji-hoo and Cho Jun-young.
내가 꿈이랬나?
아니라니까.
지가 배불뚝이
If you love soft, wholesome first love energy, Woo-yeon and Gi-jung are about to own your entire heart. They start as total opposites. She's the shy girl who feels invisible even in her own home, and he's the loud, dramatic red finger who acts confident but has never actually experienced real love. When Woo-yeon stumbles into the chaotic Spirit Fingers art club, everything changes. She finds people who see her, color her in, and slowly pull her out of grayscale, especially Gi-jung. Their chemistry is that perfect youth drama blend of awkward, fluttery, and ridiculously cute. Their big confessions are what made viewers obsessed. Woo-yeon blurting out, "I think I like you," for the first time in her life, and Gi-jung later shutting down the entire love triangle with one heartfelt declaration. Shy girl meets loud boy done right. Gentle, healing, and genuinely romantic. No surprise the show became one of 2025's most beloved youth romances worldwide. 2. Kim Se-jeong and Kang Tae-oh. Lee Kang and Park Da-lee might be one of 2025's most addictive Se-jeong couples. Kang Tae-oh plays a crown prince carrying years of heartbreak, while Kim Se-jeong is Da-lee, a sharp-tongued peddler with missing memories, and the exact same face as the woman he lost. From their first meeting, the chemistry is already loaded with grief, fate, and confusion. Then, the soul swap hits. The stoic prince ends up in a merchant's body, the scruffy merchant is suddenly acting royal, and they have to teach each other how to survive. Walking, bowing, fighting, everything. It turns their dynamic into non-stop closeness, bickering, and accidental intimacy. Every quick grab to fix a gesture or cover a mistake pulls them closer. He's stiff and grieving, she's loud and scrappy, and the body swap just amplifies it all. Add the faded love angle, his past, her missing memories. And every scene carries that, are we remembering each other or falling in love from scratch? Tension. No surprise the ratings keep climbing. Kang Tae-oh and Kim Se-jeong's chemistry is funny, tender, and angsty all at once. The exact kind of historical pairing you get attached to way too fast. 1. Eun-jin and Ki-yong. Basically, one kiss changes everything, and Jun-hyuk and Go Da-rim are the couple you won't stop watching.
아, 팀장님도 바람 쐬러 나오셔도.
Da-rim, played by Eun-jin, is a broke, exhausted civil service exam taker who fakes being a married woman with a kid just to land a job. Ji-hyuk, played by Ki-yong, is her perfectionist boss. Polished, controlled, and famously allergic to romance. Chaos ensues when a fake couple scenario goes sideways, and Da-rim panics with a kiss. What Korean press called natural disaster level, only to find out her new boss is the very man she just kissed. And he believes she's married with a child. From there, the chemistry goes feral in the best way. Ji-hyuk tries to stay professional, but every instinct betrays him. Lingering looks, tiny flashes of jealousy, that soft voice he uses only around her. Da-rim is equally doomed, torn between keeping her lie alive and falling harder every time he shows he cares. Their whole dynamic is, we really shouldn't, but we absolutely can't stop. And the drama leans into it so hard. Messy, grown-up, and easily one of the most electric romances of late 2025. And that wraps up our list. So tell me, which couple owns your heart this year? Because I'm still losing my mind over Eun-jin and Ki-yong. Their chemistry is just unreal. And while you're here, hit this next video to see which K-dramas from 2025 are criminally underrated.